What's going on, my super fam? Navia official's banner has just been dropped, and yes, there are a few things to discuss, which is why we have one of the more important video of the patch here discussing some of the most important thing you want to consider before you actually go ahead and pull on Navia's and Ayaka's banner this time around, so that I'm able to help you to make the best decision based on your account. But first guys, if you've been playing Genshin Impact for a long time and you're someone who's been playing on a different server from your home country, or you're someone who's traveling a lot, you know how frustrating high ping can be. Now thanks to Gear Up Booster, today's video sponsor, they are here to fix just that. So for the rest of the video, I will be using my Gear Up Booster VIP account to showcase to you. For a quick demo guys, how the app works is I'm here on my current America account where I'm working on a free-to-play account of mine, and we're currently at 238 ping. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to the app, click up the boost button. You can see that the game is now reconnecting, and now my current ping has dropped down to around 70 ping, which is a huge improvement for me and a lot less laggy, making it easier for me to grind in a different account. For anyone who's playing Genshin on the phone, Gear Booster is there for you as well, and it works fantastically. So guys, if you want to try out Gear Booster for yourself and experience the benefit of having lower ping, be sure to check out my link in the description where you get a 10% discount, and if you're on mobile, you can also enjoy a 3 days free trial as well. First off, I once again want to discuss about Navia and Ayaka's most important note. Now this part is going to be quite similar to this video of mine, so if you have already watched this specific video, you can actually go ahead and skip to the part where I discuss about Navia's and Ayaka's official banner specifically. Okay, so first off, let's quickly discuss about Navia a bit before she comes out. As from what you could have seen from the live stream, Navia is going to be an on-field DPS Claymore character, with the focus of having her E skill to doing the most damage, because yes, she will be firing off the Zero bullets, and yes, her burst is gonna be having, you know, kind of like rainfall cannon for up to 12 seconds. Obviously, at this point in time, Navia is not officially released yet, so I can't definitely say in terms of her pros and cons to be exact, but from all of the information that we have from Navia, here is something that I can say about her at the moment, is that Navia might be the very first Geo DPS that's actually very much usable, though still not going to be top tier, but pretty good from what she is designed to do. She kind of works in similar ways to how Lini does, which is like a giant elemental skill nuke, because her E skill scaling at this point in time is monstrous, guys. I don't know if it will be fixed when she comes out, but in terms of what her current number is saying, it is very high. Now how her kit is going to be doing is that you're focusing on having crystallized reactions and you picking up those crystallized shots so that she can buff her E skill to do even higher nuke damage. So it's actually a good thing to see that Navia can focus more on having reaction teams, because you are required to do reactions in order to have crystallized, in opposed to the past where many of the time Geo DPSs really only have a couple of teams where most of them is going to be mono Geo, and yes, that definitely can get boring at times. So definitely for Navia, I am very much excited, because her kit is actually pretty unique, and also in terms of how she plays, she is actually a character that only scales with attack. I was kind of predicting that she might be scaling with defense before, you know, there was information about her, but it's surprising to see that she only scales with attack, which is actually pretty nice because it's a lot easier to build and play her alongside with many of the other best buffer in the game. And that's a very good thing that Navia is actually released now. Before, the best buffer was kind of like Kazuha, which definitely is not a fit for Navia, because, you know, Kazuha cannot buff Geo damage, but now Furina definitely can, so that yes, Navia and Furina is gonna be kind of like a double character team that almost always go alongside with each other, so that's kind of like something that you want to keep in mind when you're using Navia here and there. But yes, of course, in order for Navia to have very good numbers, we're going to be needing to have very much invested team going forward. Of course, that is considering that you are meta focused, but if for those of us who love Navia as myself, I don't really give a crap, and yes, we're gonna be pulling for Navia and have our girl on our account anyway. Right, next up we have our lovely Ayaka. Yes, it has been a while since she's been back. Ayaka, definitely one of the simpler characters to be playing. Her burst is fantastic, guys. Oh, lots of front load damage, and yes, she is more of a burst focused character than on a DPS side, but definitely if you want to have her on-field DPS charge attacking, that is her playstyle as well. Both definitely has its own effect. The downside of Ayaka would definitely in toward her burst, because that's kind of like over 50% of her damage capability even if you are having her as a non-field DPS. The biggest thing about her burst is that it has the ability to miss, and if it does, it is a huge DPS loss on your side, so that you always have to make sure Ayaka burst always hit their targets. Now here's the thing with Ayaka is that she is very much in a competitive element, because cryo elements are generally being outclassed now by dendro reaction based team, and of course hydro element team as well, because now we have characters like Nuvilit and Furina. So yes, Ayaka is going to be having to do a lot in order to catch up, and she does require for you to have a hyper investment in order for her to do really well. Like if you've got all of the 5-star character on her team already, like if you've got a high constellation Shenhe like what I have on my account, I have a C3 Shenhe. If you have like Kazuha, Kokomi, having Miss Splitter on your Ayaka, and yes, and you're trying to go for her constellation, definitely that's when Ayaka is able to compete with the meta now. Not to say that she's really that bad, but within in terms of how the meta have changed, cryo characters generally have to do a little bit more in order to catch up at this point in time. So yes, if you are pulling for Ayaka, do keep in mind that you do have to invest a little bit into her in order for her to do fantastic. Moving on, let's discuss about the banner itself, or more importantly the 4-star characters that are coming, which is actually pretty interesting. I did make a prediction video regarding which 4-star may have the best chance of appearing, but the official banner was completely a twist, where some of the consideration that I have crossed out is apparently appearing on this banner, which is kind of surprising. But overall, what we're seeing here is Candice, Rosaria, and Sucrose. Now, if you've been playing Genshin for quite a while, you know how good Sucrose is as a 4-star character, and especially the more constellation she has, the more useful she usually be. Definitely, Sucrose is one of the better considered 4-star out there, and many have considered to be kind of like a 5-star. And yes, I have to say that her value until this point in time, guys, is still very much important, because especially teams that is requiring EM would still love to have Sucrose on their team. Now for Rosaria, I'd say she's an okay choice to be here. She definitely works really well with both Navia and Ayaka. Well, definitely not the best choice you want to have on their team, because Rosaria is kind of like a second grade consideration whenever you're building a team. Like if you're newer to the game and you don't really have a lot of character to be choosing and building a team, then Rosaria might be a consideration for you. But in terms of their best optimal teams for Navia and Ayaka, we don't usually use or have Rosaria on here. And if you're having her here, she's just usually going to be there helping you with applying cryo and basically a bit of sub DPS damage from her burst. But well, I think Rosaria being here is okay, because yes, it could have been worse, or your verse could have completely given you like another character that is definitely not usable on any of the team. So yes, that is the better side. Now for the third character, it's Candice, which is definitely a character that I did not consider her to be here, and yeah, she mostly does not work entirely well on both Navia and Ayaka team. You definitely don't want Candice to be on Ayaka's team, because her Hydro Infusion is just going to override Ayaka's Cryo Infusion, and that's going to be unplayable Ayaka. If you want to have her on Navia's team, that's fine, but that's only in the case if you're not having enough character to build a team for Navia. Otherwise, once again, definitely we're not going to be having Candice on either of the team. However, Candice on her own, especially if you do have her constellation, she does have her value, and I believe that Candice's value is still there, and it's more about saving up for future potential as well, when more and more character that arrives and is able to work absolutely well with Candice. Then yes, I believe that Candice values are going to be shooting up as the game goes on. So it's definitely a good thing to be here, especially for me too, because I personally don't have Candice on my account, and yeah, I'd love to stack up her constellation, which is a pretty nice thing. So overall, the 4-star character on this banner, guys, I'd say it's pretty decent. It could have been worse. We do see Sucrose here, so that's really nice. Overall, not an entirely bad 4-star roster. Up next, guys, is going to be discussing about the weapon banner. We have the Verdict and Miss Splitter coming back. Now, regarding the Verdict, it's definitely a weapon that is only for Navia at this point in time. Yeah, it is her BIS option and signature if you do happen to have it on Navia. So if you're investing in her, yeah, definitely try to go for it. But otherwise, I wouldn't really recommend trying to go for this weapon. However, the really good thing is that the Miss Splitter is right next to the Verdict. This banner could have been really and way worse, but the Verdict gets to be next to Miss Splitter, so congratulations to those of you who are trying to get Navia's weapon, because if you happen to lose, you may get Miss Splitter, because it is one of, if not the best sword in the game right now for DPS sword character. So definitely a worth it banner if you are a Navia's main trying to get her weapon. But yeah, definitely if you're pulling for Ayaka, you want to go for the banner, then I'd say yes, just try to go for Miss Splitter. You might get the Verdict. But I do feel that any of us who love Ayaka as a character may already want to go for Navia's as well. So if you do happen to lose for the Verdict, that's totally fine. Once you get Navia, you can slap that onto her. Now for the 4-star options, I'd say it's around 50-50%. That's good. We do have the Favonius Codex and the Dragon's Bane. Both are totally usable and very important. But the other three, you know, the bow, claymore, and the sword is really that good. I mean, the bow and the claymore, if you build them in very specific team, you'll be able to make the best use of those weapons. So they still do have their values. But if you're someone who's focusing on trying to get some of the 4-star weapon here on the banner, I wouldn't really try to recommend you going for it, as yes, it's not entirely that good. Overall, the 5-star weapons on this banner is okay. If you do have the Primo Gems to spare, I'd say it's okay. Yeah, good luck on getting the weapon, because especially for Miss Splitter, we definitely don't know when it's going to be coming back. Now, talking about coming back, it's pretty important that we discuss about future banners as well, because that is one of the most important considerations whenever you are pulling for the characters. Now, we already know that Raiden Shogun and Yoimiya is going to be coming back after the first phase. Raiden Shogun's values are still there and definitely a pull, especially if you are trying to go for the constellations. Yoimiya herself is basically a skip in terms of the meta. Unless you really love Yoimiya, then yes, she's a preference that you can go along with. But a more important consideration is regarding the characters that's going to be coming in patch 4.4 and onwards. Yeah, basically I'd say that patch 4.4 is definitely going to be a Lantern Rite event. Therefore, leeway characters are most likely going to be featured, and I would say probably all 4 of the characters are going to be leeways related. So we can at least expect something to that extent, especially there have been saying around that a new character, and it's a character that many of us has been expecting, which is Cloud Retainer, is going to be featured. Now, definitely at this point in time, we have absolutely no idea what kind of skills and kit she would have, but it's definitely something to be looking forward to, and consider spending your Primo Gems to a moderate if you are a Cloud Retainer fan, or if you're saving any of the character in leeway. So yes, if you love Navias, you're planning to pull for Raiden Shogun, I do wish you good luck getting them early, and consider how you spend your Primo Gems wisely. And so guys, that will be everything I have to say regarding the banners at this point in time. I hope that was really useful to you. If you have any questions, just leave it down in the comments, and I or some other lovely Genshin player will get to you there. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. With that, I wish you a super day, and I will catch you on my next video.